Okay, so today's session is going to be an interesting one for all of you and for me as well. Now, we're living in times where things have changed, and they've changed so phenomenally that we've got kind of taken aback with what has happened. And what has happened is that it's the whole coronavirus thing, the COVID-19 thing, has thrown us off guard. And because of which some of us have actually lost our balance, and we are not pretty sure what we're going to do. And for us to understand what we need to do and how we're going to do it, we need to position ourselves correctly. When you sit in a plane, and I'd really request everybody to go on mute, please, because there's somebody who's not on mute. Can you please go on mute? Okay, thank you. So as you can see, when you sit in a plane, an airplane, and the pilot says if there's an emergency and he feels something is going to happen, something which is a disaster that he sees that might happen, he says, brace for impact, brace for impact. Now the pilot says that, and everybody in the passenger seat, everybody is in shock and is in fear and feels the worst will happen. And the pilot has to do this even if it is not the worst case scenario. He has to do it if he thinks that there's an emergency and he needs to make an emergency landing. Now, just because he said brace for impact, everything in your mind and your body shut down and you got scared and you feared for your life. And today, when coronavirus hit us, that's what happened to most of us. Our bodies shut down, and in some cases, our minds shut down. And that is a bigger problem than anything else, because today with the COVID-19 issue, this is exactly like a potential emergency landing in a plane. We're having a situation where we can hear brace for impact, which means everybody's telling us the economy is going down. Everybody's telling us that because of lockdown, everything is going south. Everybody's telling us that the developed countries no longer look that developed, right? So America, UK, France, Italy, these are industrial giants, and they are in much bigger problems and much bigger economic situations than even the Asian countries or the underdeveloped countries. And because of that, we are listening to this siren over and over again, every media, every social media post, brace for impact, and we are panicking more. Now, because we are panicking more, what we're doing is we're shutting down all our critical systems. Now, your body is divided into two parts. The first part is your brain, which is the pilot. And the second part is the body, which is the passengers. Now, what you need to do is you need to let the pilot do the flying. Even if it's an emergency landing, let him do it. You don't stop just because there's an emergency situation. The pilot doesn't have an option of just shutting his eyes and saying, let it be, whatever happens, happens. If we make it, we make it. If we don't, we don't. We can't do that. We can't do that as individuals, and we definitely can't do that as professionals. Why? Because there's a lot riding on this. Whatever you do now decides what will happen with you in 6 months from now. Because the economy is going south, it is going down, and you need to decide how you're going to manage it. So I believe that in this particular situation where we have at the moment, you have some of the greatest opportunities that may come out of it, if only you think. I want you all to start thinking rather than shutting down. I want you all, while you sit in your homes, you sit in your apartments, trying to be frustrated, trying to be upset, or wasting your time on social media or watching Netflix or whatever, I want you to use your time to think. Because thinking is the one ability that will put you above everybody else, that will put you above this problem, that will make you overcome this challenge. Always remember, mind does win over matter. So it is all about how you manage this whole situation. So I believe that the greatest opportunities sometimes come in the darkest of days. And we're living in times where the days are very dark. Everything around you is gloomy, everything. And I want you to use this gloom, I want you to use this darkness, and I need you to create some light. And that light is going to come from you. You all are going to illuminate into something amazing. But you can only do that if you start to think. So this session is all about people who want to be entrepreneurs and people who are entrepreneurs. Why? The ones who are already entrepreneurs, who've launched your startup ideas, your businesses a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, everything has changed for you. The rules of the game have changed. So whatever you were doing is no longer most likely valid. It's no longer even applicable. So you need to develop something that is more apt to the current state of affairs. So this workshop is going to help you process everything as if you're doing this from scratch. So the ones who want to pursue entrepreneurship, this is a good session for you because you will get the whole process stacked down from the top to the bottom. Those who have already done this, as in launch your own businesses, have your own startups, I think you can pick up a few ideas in this session on what you're going to do. So today's workshop is about trying to create an opportunity in this darkness that surrounds us. So this is a workshop for entrepreneurs. And my background is that I had a venture capital fund that's based in the United Kingdom. And we also have a joint investment with another fund in the US. I had that as a co-founder and a CEO. And I think having worked in the past with large companies like British Telecom and others, I've gained a lot of experience in trying to understand environments. I always believe that if you want to make the right decision, you need to understand the environment. If you don't understand the environment, your decision-making ability is actually faulty because you're just learning from what you already know. What you need to do is, I think somebody's mic is on. Can you please switch it off? Thank you. So what you need to do is basically develop from the experience that you have now in front of you. Because whatever you had in the past was in the past. Who are the people who will lose the battle of coronavirus from a business standpoint? Who are the people who will lose their jobs in the coronavirus situation? The ones who are still living in the past. The ones who believe that my previous experience will help me. No, it will not. You need to relearn the game. You need to recreate the wheel, and you need to build on it. Now, for you to do that, you will need to make sure that everything that you're looking at, everything that you're staring at, everything that stands in front of you is clear and obvious. So within my experience, I sit on the board of a lot of companies. Some of them are fairly successful startup companies in the world, some in the United Kingdom, some in America. And I get to engage with them. I get to understand from them, and I get to learn from them. And learning is a constant issue, right? So that bit I'm going to share with you today. This is a workshop I've done in the past on the line. Today there are some changes based on coronavirus. So I had attendees from 17 countries and around 94 cities. So this has been a very successful program, workshop program in the past as well. So why do most startups fail? So let's first start with this. Why do most startups fail? Now, all the red ones are the major reasons. So number one, you launch an idea that the market does not need. You think the market needs it, but when you launch it after a year, after 2 years, you realize there's no uptake. There are no customers coming on. There are no people joining onto it. So I think what people need to do is to understand that they will need to adapt to what is currently there. If you don't adapt to what is currently there, then you will have a problem, and that problem will lead for you to lose the race. So no market need. So whoever had launched his startup business or his business 6 months ago, 1 year ago, you have to reassess your position now. Why? Because maybe what you were selling, what you were presenting, what you were offering is no longer a need in the market. It's no longer needed. Okay, somebody's mic is still on. Can you please switch it off? All right, thank you. So what I need you to do is to make sure that you reassess your existing businesses and think about what you were offering. Is it still valid? Do people still need this? Number two, people launch businesses with no real experience. And just because they have a good network, because they do good slideshows, they do nice presentations, they think that they can make it work. No, it doesn't work like that. Number three, the product is unfriendly. Whatever you presented was not really friendly for customers. They did not understand how to engage with your product or service. There was no customer insight. And then right product, wrong market. You have the good proposition, but what you have is not fit for the market in, let's say if you're in UK, it's not fit for UK, it's fit for India. And let's assume it's India, it's not fit for India, it's good for Canada or something like that. And finally, wrong investors. People raise money with investors without realizing that there are a lot of investors that are actually not good for your business. So you need to make sure that you cover a lot of these areas before you launch your business. So in this particular presentation, this particular session, we'll go through the steps. And the first step that you will need to kind of understand is that there are 3 stages. There's the ideation stage, the validation stage, and the startup of the business stage. And each of them I will explain to you in detail as we go through this presentation, hopefully. So how to come up with a successful idea, right? Everybody asks me that. Like, it's very simple to say, hey, come up with a good idea. How do you do it? Well, there is some science behind it, because successful stories have always resulted in certain DNA. And I've looked at that DNA, and that DNA is very clear and very obvious. And if you happen to follow that DNA map, then maybe you have a chance of doing something successful. Now, bear in mind, the issue with startup companies is that you need to be successful consistently. Most people are successful in phases. They are successful in the launch. Now they're not good after that. Some are very bad at the launch and they're successful in go-to-market, and some of them are not good at customer acquisition. But you need to be consistent if you need to be successful. So how do you come up with successful business ideas and ensure that you have consistency in your success? So the first way of coming up with a good idea is you stick to your skill, something that you know. So if you are a chartered accountant, you should think about a startup idea that is related to chartered accountancy. Why? Because this is your strength. You understand the ins and outs. You understand the name of the game. You understand the rules of the game. You understand the players. You understand the gaps. Everything is obvious to you. I've seen a lot of people exhibit hobbies as their strength or skill. In most cases, it's not, because when you work in a particular profession or job, what it does for you is it gives you an environment to understand everything around it. It's not just your job. You look at your competitors, you understand how your peers are working in that same area. And that allows you to have a lot of confidence and a lot of growth in it. Now, so if you were a chartered accountant, the most obvious thing you should launch is a fintech. Right? Something that will compete with Oracle, a new ERP. You have to choose your skill, because if you chose your skill, then if anything goes wrong, you are in very good control of managing it. Because if this is not your skill, if this is not your experience, you have not worked on it for a number of years, then you begin to falter, you begin to have issues. So chances are that your customers will realize that immediately, that you don't know this, and you were just trying to make it work. And trying to make anything work is not a good way of running a business. So what's the other way of trying to come up with a good idea? Something that has been bothering you for a while. You see, people are so emotional that when we get really emotional and angry, sometimes we come up with the right idea, right? For me, if I have to come up with the right strategy, I have to be very upset. If I'm very upset, then I pressure myself to come up with the right strategy. If I'm very relaxed, I can't actually think about a good strategy. So sometimes when things bother you, they push you to a place where you're forced to think. And I think COVID-19, coronavirus, has created that. It has created a problem for everybody. We're all sitting at home. Businesses are shut down. There's a threat of losing jobs. There's a threat of falling economy. This has bothered us. Let's use this to create an idea, a solution, something that could be relevant to the scenario and situation of today, something that allows us to say, hey, listen, COVID-19 has given me a new area to think about. And by the way, COVID-19 in marketing terms, in go-to-market terms, is a blessing in disguise. You see, previously, if you had to launch a business, and everybody was in different places, some of them in offices, some of them in between cities, some of them sitting in their farmhouses, etc. You would have to have a go-to-market strategy that was very fragmented, and you would have to choose your budget very wisely. Now, guess what? You know where everybody's sitting, right? everybody's sitting at home. Everybody is working from home. So you know exactly where to target them. You know exactly how to target them. You know their environment, you know their state of mental affairs, and hence it becomes easier for you to manage that. So your target customer has now become captive market, which means he or she is not moving. They're there, they're in their houses, they're in their apartments, and you can target them. And that puts you into a big advantage if only you know how to play it. So maybe if you think hard enough about what are the problems you are facing as a consumer, what are the problems you are facing as an employee, what are the problems you are facing as a student, maybe you will come up with a startup idea that is perfect, that is basically allowing everybody to use the position of your home-based reality into a business. And that could be anything, and I'll probably talk about that a little later. But this is one of the other ways of coming out with a solution, a business idea, a startup idea. That's something that bothers you, and you have diagnosed that problem very severely. You see, when something bothers you, you need to study it. You need to understand it. You need to create enough knowledge around it. You need to have so much scenarios in your head that you know exactly what is going wrong. And once you know what's going wrong, you start to create a cycle to see how can I change this shift. Because the world has only changed into innovation when a few people decided to find solutions to problems. I think today, each one of us has that opportunity to find solutions to problems. And that one big problem that's staring at all of us is COVID-19. So you can use that to make something out of it. Another option of making a good startup idea is to complete a successful brand. So if someone comes up with a great idea and someone becomes successful, you look at what their food chain is and you try to position yourself in the food chain. So for example, if somebody opens a large retail store for a mobile shop, right? So the most obvious thing for you to do on the same street is to open up a mobile repair shop, or to open up a mobile accessory shop, or to open up a mobile app shop, something relative to the big shark that is there in the sea. So you need to look at a successful business, if you can't come up with something yourself, and try to find out what is the food chain of that business and see where you fit in it. And guess what? In these days, even now when you have COVID-19 problems, chaos and fiasco going on, you will find somebody coming up with a very successful idea. It will be all over the media, and all you need to do is pay attention and see where do you fit in. This is actually a very easy way of coming up with a startup idea. Then look at trends. The number 4 way of coming up with a good startup idea is that you look at trends. And guess what? With COVID-19, it's very easy for you to look at trends. So I'll give you a few. So everybody's staying at home. Everybody is fearful for their health and safety. And everybody's working from home, right? So what is the businesses you could launch? Well, the rules are there. Previously, the rules were not there for you to engage. You had to understand the rules of engagement. Now, with COVID-19, the rules are very clear for you. Everybody is in one position. All you need to do is aim well and hit. So you need to look at the trends that will define the near future. Now, in the venture capital space, in the entrepreneurship and startup industry, we're no longer looking at a 5 and 7 year window. You could have a business idea that could convert itself into a unicorn in less than 6 months. Why? Because the world is held hostage. The world is being kidnapped by one disease. And that one disease has made the world lose close to $3 to $5 trillion. It's already gone. The last major stock market crash was the Great Depression in 1929, the Wall Street crash. And that crash in a 16-day monitor had a drop of around, I believe it was 34%. In 16 days. COVID-19, sorry, before that, 2008, the Lehman Brothers crash, that in 16 days had around 24%. COVID-19 in just 4 days had dropped more than 20%. And now you can all see the numbers around you. So the trends are clear to you. People are going to save more money. They'll be more interested in saving money. People will be very interested in ideas that keep them health and safety. People will be very happy to see another option like this one that we're using now, which is Zoom. People will now think about, so you see, the world was in a very casual mode. So we were happy engaging on Facebook, on Instagram, etc. And now all of a sudden, this is the need of the hour. It's no longer casual, it's all serious. Zoom has never seen so many people use this platform as they are doing now. So why not look at all of these as a trend that will create something new? You can already see a trend that education is going to shift this way. You can already see a trend that health is going to shift this way. You can already see a trend that government services are going to shift this way. You can already see a trend that everything called retail may be going this way. So what are the areas that you can play with? What are the areas that you can create an idea with? All you need to do is think about what those trends could be. And like I said, it's not going to be any more difficult. You don't need an analyst to tell you. You don't need Gartner to tell you. You don't need Reuters to tell you. It's all out there. It's spend enough time on the computer, and guess what? You'll get all the information you need. So this is one of the other ways, one of the ways of coming up with a successful business idea. And then look around you. And I've said this so many times, the famous lock that was on your doors and your father's doors and your grandfather's doors and your great-grandfather's doors. And nobody changed it. Why? Because the purpose was served, that there's a door and you need a lock in front here so that nobody enters the door, right? So it was an exit entry barrier called a lock. And then after many, many years, technology was created, internet was launched. And it was only till recent that we launched the electronic lock, where you can open and close a door using codes sent to you on SMS or WhatsApp. And it's a one-time entry and a one-time exit kind of a thing. So sometimes we humans think, where is that big idea? Where's that great idea? Where's that unicorn concept? It's there, it's all around you. It's just that you don't look enough. You're so busy doing passive things. You're so busy doing stuff that's not important that you stress yourself enough, and then you say, oh, I don't have any more energy left. I can't do it. But guess what? Finally, COVID-19 has proven to you that whether you have energy or no, you have no option. You literally have no options. And I'm telling you this very, very honestly, all of you. If you don't take this, what I'm telling you today, seriously, all of you are going to be on the bad end of what's going to happen in November, December. So before you reach that November, December situation, you need to be prepared, and you need to have something within you that is worthy of somebody's money, somebody's attention, or somebody's faith. You need to have that. And that is why keep looking around you. Look at the trends. Work with your skills. Okay? These are some of the ways of using your best abilities to create a good startup idea. And of course, whenever you make anything cheaper, why is Amazon, Alibaba so famous? Not because they deliver stuff to your house, it's because they actually make it cheaper. The whole exercise very cheap. So if you had to go and buy Nike shoes in a store, you would pay a lot more than what you did on Amazon or Alibaba. Now, how do you make that? Guess what? Again, COVID-19 has made that much easier for you. Now everybody, every supplier wants to push their products out, and there are not enough channels. If you created the channels, if you developed a platform, if you launched a startup idea that allows people to get their consumables, and that too at a cheaper price, in an environment where people are trying to save money, I think you'd be fairly successful. You would be fairly successful. So this is one of the other ways of making a good idea come to you. So once again, I'll just run through them, all right? So the first is, it has to be a skill that you have worked at for many, many years. You were a doctor, and hence you launched a health tech. You were a baker, hence you launched a bakery. You were a CA, hence you launched a fintech. You were into logistics, hence you launched e-commerce. Anything that was your skill, your professional capability for many, many years. And then you launched it. Second is, there's something that has been bothering you, and that bother has created an opportunity. You've studied the whole problem. You've looked at the whole environment, and I'll teach you how that is done a little bit later, but I'm just going through the top line here. And that problem that bothered you, you're ready to resolve it with a solution. And that solution is your startup idea. you do the easy part, which you let somebody else launch a successful business, and then you look at the food chain and you see whether you can fit yourself somewhere there in the food chain, and you launch your little startup idea. You look at the trends, and like I said, it's very obvious now what the trends are and where everything is going. There's no rocket science, there's no magic ball for you to look at. It's all clear where everybody's going and what the trends could be. Use that ability to create a good startup idea. Look around you, be observant, be attentive, try and always look things. You see, the problem with people today is almost everybody has goldfish memory. You know, people are not paying attention. You need to pay attention. Always remember, when you're in a problem, in a situation, this is where you need to think more. That's why I use the example of the plane crashing, of the emergency landing, where I said that the pilot says brace for impact, but you need to completely start thinking after that. You are the pilot, you're not the passenger. Your families are counting on you. So you don't have the option of freezing out. Your boss sent you a letter saying you're fired because of COVID-19. Your business is gone. There's nothing. All your staff have left. There's no customers. There's no money coming in. What are the options you have? The only option you have is to continue. And how you continue pretty much gets decided with how you think. And that's why the concept of brace for impact is very important to you. That you have to fit the role of the pilot, not the passengers. They can be fearful. They can be scared. They can be in panic mode, not you. You need to be prepared for that emergency landing. So you reduce your damage as much as possible. And that's what you are supposed to do, that you're supposed to brace for impact. So you look around you and you try and find something that you can do, which is a startup idea. And then you can find a way of making anything cheap. And like I said, in these circumstances, from now till at least next year, 2021, you will only have people interested in cheaper things. Why? I'll give you an example of India. India's projected GDP growth at best looks like 2.5%. At worst looks like something close to 1%. So a lot of people will be holding on to their cash. Banks will not be lending money. Remember that before this whole thing started, towards the second and third quarter of 2019, India already had a corporate financial loan crisis. Now they have a retail financial loan crisis. So regular people who took loans for buying apartments, house, lands, or whatever, they would have a problem paying it back. So you need to be prepared to launch ideas to make people's lives easier. And making things cheaper for people is a very good idea to do. So what do? You need to think differently. Why do you need to think differently? Why is it important for you to think differently? You see, when it rains and you go out with an umbrella, are you taking the umbrella out to stop the rain? Or are you taking out the umbrella with you so that you can be dry? So if you just understand the analogy here, that there is rain and you've taken an umbrella and you've gone out. And you're thinking, I'm going to stop the rain with this. No, you're not. The rain is going to continue. What you're going to do is going to use that umbrella to go past the rain and reach your destination that you need to. It's about how you think. It's about when you left your office and your boss appreciated you for something good you did and said, hey, Shraddha, you did a great job. Tausif, you did a fantastic job. Abe, you did a fantastic job. And you left the office and it was raining cats and dogs. It was very heavy. The rain was extremely, extremely heavy. And you were in good mood. Why? Because you got appreciated. And you didn't have an umbrella. You got all wet. It was your new suit. It was your new dress. And it was a mess. But you didn't care. Why? Because your mood was all about, I got appreciated. Versus somebody who left his office and the boss just gave him a situation which was very difficult for him to handle. The boss said, listen, all your slides were very bad. You embarrassed me in front of everybody. And my boss was shouting and screaming at me saying what a childish job this was. And you left the office with an umbrella in a storm and you felt completely drenched. even though you were not. Why? Because your mental state was very, very lost and negative. So it's all about thinking differently. If COVID-19 has given all of us a reason to understand what we need to do in life, it's all about thinking differently. It's not about mental balance. It is not about finding your inner peace. It's not about getting that center in you. No, it's about thinking differently. You have to start developing that exercise in your head that I am able to think differently. I can't look at a tragedy movie and make a comedy of it. And this is a good exercise. Sometimes you should do that. You should take a clip of a very serious drama, a serious show, a serious movie, and convert it into comedy. And then you should do the reverse. You should take a comic scene and convert that into serious drama. This allows your brain to think that you can change the script. And guess what? You can. The guy who gets called by his boss to say he's fired, and he slumps in his chair and he puts his hand on his table and he thinks the world is going to end, has already lost everything. But the other guy who also got called by his boss and saying, I'm sorry, Nabi, I need to let you go because we don't have enough funds to keep you still engaged with us as an employee. And Nabi says, well, you know what, boss? Thank you very much. It has been lovely working for you. I've had so much good experience in this company. I wish you and the company well. And guess what? Now the world is my space, and I think I'm going to go and see what I can do next. Two things. This guy, with his positive intent, his ability to think differently, he's shown his boss what a mistake he has done by letting go of somebody like this. So most likely the boss might call him back. Second, he has convinced himself that he is good for other things. Your jobs, your businesses do not define you. Your job success or your business success does not define you. You define who you are. Most people think that success comes because I have scored a big deal. Success comes because I have landed a big job, a big salary. No. Success comes when you're mentally successful, when your entire body and spirit is all about success. And that's why this slide is very important. Think differently. COVID-19 has given everybody the reason to start thinking differently. So start thinking differently. So once you have come up with a good idea, you have a brilliant idea for a startup. What do you do after this? You validate your idea. Your idea needs to be validated. Because if you don't validate your idea, the risk of losing your battle early is very, very high. I've seen a lot of startups fail because they never decided to go and continue the idea, the concept of validation. And validation makes you more powerful before you go to market. So how do you validate? So the first thing you do is you talk to 100 people, 100 total strangers. You can't talk to family. You can't talk to friends. You can't talk to colleagues. You can't talk to alumni. You can't talk to people that you know. Total 100 strangers. And you ask them 3 questions. You tell them that I believe there is a problem in the industry, and you describe the problem. You ask them, do you agree with this problem? If he says yes, then you ask him, now I have a solution for this problem. And my solution is a startup idea, which is this, this, and this. Do you like my solution? If he says yes, then ask him, if I launch this solution as a startup idea, how much do you think you're going to pay for this solution? Is it going to be $5? Is it going to be 5 cents? Is it going to be $50? Or you're going to pay nothing for it? Because this will define and decide your revenue and commercial model. Many startup founders, many entrepreneurs let go of this whole exercise that I'm telling you today. And because of which, most likely they will fail. And their failure will be because they did not validate their idea enough. So you need to ask 100 strangers, total strangers, 3 questions. The first question, you describe your problem and say, do you think this is a problem in society, in industry? Number 2, I have a solution, and my solution is A, B, and C. Do you like my solution? And number 3, if I launch this solution as an idea, as a startup business, will you buy it? And if you will, how much will you pay for it? All right. These are the kind of things you need to basically set so that people can understand exactly what you are taking to the market. And you have pre-qualified yourself in advance way before anybody can question you in the marketplace. And that is why validation is the most strongest element of the startup cycle. This is the most strongest one. And whatever you validate, you need to register it. Make sure that if there are conversations, you're recording them, you ask the person, take his permission, her permission, and say, I'm going to record this, because it's important for you to listen to feedback over and over again so that you come to know the exact context of what was being said. Because sometimes when we talk to people, when we engage with people, we don't have enough focus, enough attention. And sometimes we need that attention, and this attention comes when you listen back, when you read your notes again. So register your feedback. And when you're registering your feedback and going through your feedback, if you think more than 80% of your feedback is pointing towards yes, go for it, then go for it. If more than 80% of your research feedback from 100 people, total strangers, are telling you this is a great idea, I like your idea, I think this is a problem, and I think I'm going to pay $2 for it. And 82% people said they're going to pay $2 for it. That is the price of your service. That's the price of your product. Go for it. This way, when you go to investors, investors are very happy that you've done your due diligence correctly. You've actually applied science to this and not just excitement, because most entrepreneurs just come with exciting ideas without validation. And that is a no-go any day. So once you finish validation, it's important for you to understand who your customers are. Who are you selling to? Are you selling to a business? Are you a B2B? Are you selling to a customer? Are you a B2C? Or are you selling to both? Are you selling to a business that is selling to your end customer? What are you doing? You need to be very clear about this. Why? Because if you're clear about it, you will have your commercial modeling correctly. You will understand who makes what in what stages, and what are you left with as revenue, and what can be your bottom line net income. This is very important. Again, most people don't understand who their customers are. They're so excited about their startup idea that they forget who they're dealing with. You're dealing with a marketplace. That's more important than your brilliant idea. If the customer is not clear, if the customer is not identified, then you are going to have a problem. You have to know where your customer is located. You have to know how you're going to deliver your product to them. You have to know who your competitors are. There's nothing called I have no competition. Like, everybody has competition, and you need to know who they are, and you need to know what your customers are going to pay for you to get your product. Well, sometimes, well, not sometimes, actually most of the times, unfortunately, I get a lot of startup entrepreneurs who come to me and they say that, you know, and when I ask them, what is your marketplace? They say, oh, the whole country. I said, oh, okay. So you're going to target 1.3 billion people? No, not really. But so I said, what's your marketplace? My marketplace is actually all metro cities. I said, oh, okay. So you're going to target what? Close to 500 million people? Oh, not exactly. The idea is that if you're not correct and accurate about where your geography is, where your customers are, you're going to throw your budgets all over the place and you're going to lose all your money. And that's why when people run out of money in startup companies is because they have no real plan. They just have a plan. And those top line plans is not what makes business work. So you need to know where your customers are sitting after you've validated your business idea. Once you have completed this phase, now you're ready to do something called constructing your business proposition. Like, you need to now have a structure which you can use and you can take, and people can see what it is. Now, in this structure, there are a few critical steps, all right? So there are 7 steps that are very, very important, very, very critical for you to launch your idea. So the first thing is, how soon can you put all of this brilliant idea on a piece of paper? I don't mean literally a piece of paper, I mean on paper. Spend as much time as you can trying to put your idea on paper. Most people just think about ideas. Always remember, it's human psychology. When you read what you think, you start thinking differently. That's why put things on paper. So how soon can you put your idea on paper? How soon can you do it? How soon can you meet 100 strangers to validate your idea? Can you sell that idea to customers without without a POC, without a proof of concept? Can you just explain it to customers long enough, hard enough, brilliantly enough, greatly enough for them to say, hey, guess what? I don't need to see a product. I'm ready to buy it, right? That's what you do with the construction business. So the builder or the real estate agent comes to you with designs and gives you these 3D images and sometimes videos. These are not real buildings. These are just interpretations of what they will look like. So you pay them in advance for something which has basically now raised your interest, and hence you're paid money for it. Somebody's mic is on. Can you please mute it? Thank you. So what you need to do is to make sure that sometimes some people are very good at expressing. They're very, very good at giving you an explanation. They can really describe something very well. Use that ability and try to sell your idea even before you have created the first sample. That shows how skilled you are. Then describe your first phase of the project of what you need. What are the resources you need to reach stage 1? Everything from skills, from suppliers, from money, from location, from planning, everything. Just write it down. And do you need outside help from at this stage? Do you need somebody else's support? Because most founders think that they've got it all covered. They've got it all covered. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why people have issues in mute your mic, please. Thank you. So when you take some outside help, that does not make you weak. It only makes you more stronger. Most people do not want outside help. They think they're so smart. And sometimes they're so careful that they think if I discuss this with someone, he might take my idea. She might take my idea. Guess what? Because of your panic behavior, because of your self issues, you're not able to grow. And sometimes it's the outside help that allows you to grow. And you can only grow if you take help from outside. And that's what you need to do sometimes. You need to take help from outside. Once the idea is complete and validated, now start your business plan. Now start working on your business plan. And make sure, number 7, divide your plan into stages of investments and milestones. Investments and milestones. Investments and milestones. Until you do that correctly, you are not going to be able to develop something that is unique, something that's special, something that everybody wants. You will just develop something that is very, very normal. But if you follow these 7 steps, then what you would have is something that is unique. Now, I know there are a few of you that are passing some requests for question answers, but I'll do that later because I'm in a flow. Let me just finish this and then I can take everybody's questions from the chat. All right. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to reply to anything now. I'll just finish my whole thing and then I will take everybody's questions. Okay. Thank you. So how do you create traction, right? How does traction happen? Traction happens when, you walked into a mall and somebody gave you samples to try. Somebody gave you a new tea, a new fragrance, a new perfume, something, a biscuit or whatever. That creates traction. So if you want your business to succeed, find a way to create traction before you launch, which again helps with your first validation exercise of 100 strangers. And then you have a few more people who will validate your traction process and say, hey, guess what? I think this is good. I think this is nice. And take honest feedback, let them score you. Tell them if this is bad, score me bad. Don't score me well. I remember when I was launching a restaurant business around 6 years ago, and we were on the 7th stage of food trials. This was the 7th food trial. And I was so persistent about it. I was so persistent about the validation part of it, that on the 8th food trial, I actually fired the chef. And everybody panicked. Everybody said, what are you doing, Abdullah? This is the guy. You just fired the chef. I said, I can't keep a chef who can't get 7 food trials correct. He's still making mistakes, which means that he's going to make a bigger mistake for me when I launch this. So those 7 or 8 food trials were pricey. I paid money for it, but it was better than losing out on rent, losing out on salary, losing out on brand equity, losing out on customers. So when I launched a successful food concept rather than my just idea of a food concept. So make sure that your soft launch is a step that you always take in your business whenever you launch it. I was talking about this earlier, but I'll define it again. There are certain people who can sell castles in thin air. So like I said, in the real estate business, and I know someone who's currently on this Zoom call, a very dear friend of mine, with a lovely smile as always. And this guy, he can sell castles in thin air. I have bought almost all my properties with him without visiting any of the properties. I must have seen those properties maybe 2 or 3 years after I have bought them. Now, imagine his ability to convince me, and I'm a very difficult person to convince. But because he's very polite, because he's extremely nice, because he's got that $1 million smile, because you could believe this guy, even he was holding a torch that is burning your house, you would still believe this guy. He has that demeanor about him. He has that personality that does that. Now, if you have that personality that people trust you, people believe you, people are willing to put their faith in you, this is a good time for you to use that and create something and give it to people, sell it to people, even before you have invested a single rupee, a single dollar, a single pound. You can sell everything in just an idea. Why? Because you're believable. Why? Because this is what I do in my work. I have to sell ideas. I'm not used to selling anything tangible. I don't sell tangible stuff. I sell the concept of technology that sits on that tangible stuff. So the one thing that I learned from this guy is that if you want to succeed in the world of ideas, you have to have the personality that matches that. If you don't have the personality that matches, if you're a tough guy, if you're a difficult female to work with, if you are a person that is not easygoing, you've got so many qualms about yourself, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You got to relax. You got to chillax. You got to feel the positivity around you. Everybody needs to know that you are someone who can create positive vibes, and then see what you can do. So selling castles in thin air is a very good way of trying to create a good business idea with no money in this current COVID-19 crisis. So anybody who thinks that they have a personality and a swag about themselves and they're pretty cool, everybody loves them, everybody likes them, I invite you to create business ideas and take them to market. But I also invite you, stay away from anything that you're not convinced with, because your personalities can help you raise money, but your failure will make you lose credibility. So make sure that even if you are able to convince people, you pre-qualify your idea so much that you feel that this person's money is more important than my money. And we need to basically, take it from there. So if you have the ability to sell castles in thin air, go ahead and do it, because you could really use that skill today's time. So the next step is writing a business plan. Now, if you want to write a business plan, there are many ways to do it. So this session is not about helping you write a business plan. This session is definitely not about telling you what comes inside a business plan. This session is about telling you what you need to do once your business plan stage is ready to go. Because if you're ready to go with that stage of business plan, then you need to have certain elements in it. You need to know when you're going to raise capital. You need to know why you're going to raise capital. You need to know how people are going to give you their capital. And all of that is pretty much defined and decided by how well prepared you are. Always remember, if you're not prepared enough, the only thing you're hoping for is getting lucky. And people who want to get lucky are never successful. They're actually big fat failures. For me, there's nothing called luck. There's nothing called luck. You know, whenever people go to astrologers and, you know, soothsayers, etc., it's all a waste of time. You are the most amazing, lucky thing that has happened to you. You are the biggest success that was born. You were a hit movie the day you came out of your mother's womb. The problem is you don't realize it. You're so used to looking at other people's success and relating to it that you don't realize how successful you really are. You are really successful because God has given you hands, legs, eyes, ears, mouth, everything, all the elements, all the resources you need, all of it to be successful. So make sure that you create a business plan that is well prepared, that is well laid out, that has everything in it that can work. And when it doesn't work, it can move. You have to have a flexible approach towards market, not a rigid approach, because rigid approaches is like one glove fits all, and it doesn't. In today's changing market, nothing fits everything. Everything has to fit something. Marketing, you obviously need good marketing. If you don't have good marketing, then whatever you're trying to sell will not really work. But while I'm telling you that, I want you to go with the proverb, which is that you cannot sell ice to Eskimos. So don't try to do something which actually is ethically wrong. Don't try to sell something just because you know you can sell it. Try to do something that's ethical so that when you want to resell, you have enough ability to resell it. You have enough space for more customers. So your marketing plan has to be honest. It has to be real. It has to have a lot of emotion in it. But it all has to be real. It all has to be true. And it all has to be correct. Choose your words. You know, sometimes when I'm answering emails or even WhatsApp messages, I'm not convinced. I will change the message 3, 4, maybe 5 times until I'm happy with what the message is. Why? Because what I'm putting out there is what you're going to see. If I just did it for the purposes of putting it out there, then maybe I made a mistake. That's why pay more attention to what you do in the marketing plan, because that will help you succeed or fail. Who your team is decides whether you're going to achieve success for a long term or a short term, because success comes from teamwork. And that means you as a founder, your employees, your investors, and your mentors. All of them have to work together as a team, because if you work together as a team, then you will know that you are able to deliver success consistently. Most founders, most startup founders believe that they are, most founders believe that they are very good CEOs. And the fact is that they are not. They're just good at coming up with the idea, but they don't have the experience of that industry. So don't waste your time and the investors' funds in trying to develop something which is not your cup of tea. Hire a good CEO, hire a good operations person, and let that person tell you what to do. This way, you would have saved yourself and the team. So making a good team is very important for a successful startup. Funding. Now, while most people think that money is the major prerequisite for any startup idea, of course, no. If you had a good idea, if you were able to communicate it well, if you were able to do your homework properly, if your research was correct, if everything about what you were doing was there, clear, obvious, as the blue sky, nobody's going to ask for money. They're just going to put money in you, because people invest in people and their ideas. Investors are not looking at just good business plans. They're also looking at you. They're also looking at what is the idea you bring to the table. And they are looking at your history. They're looking at your track record. Imagine going as a chartered accountant trying to raise money for a bakery. Just imagine. Imagine going as a baker trying to raise money for a fintech, right? You've already created for yourself a problem. So you have to be clear that when you're going to investors, they have a due diligence process. And the due diligence process, number one is this man credible? Is this lady credible? And credibility comes with your past. So make sure that your past that you're presenting to them is correct. Because if it's not correct, then yes, you're hoping to be successful only by raising money, because that's the only thing that you think can get you success. No, I think if your ideas were correct, I think if your approach was in order, you would get the money anyways. So your funding comes in three different ways. You bootstrap, you put your own money, you get debt from somebody, somebody gives you a loan, your family, your friends, supporters, or you offer equity, or you go to investors or VCs or angel investors. Now, always remember the first part is the most important part. Me as an investor, if I didn't see a startup founder put money in the business, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. Why? Because I think that this person is just trying to raise money and hoping things work. Because if he doesn't or she doesn't have something invested in it, why should I trust this idea? So always remember, when you go to investors, make sure you have put some of your money in that idea of yours, and make sure you specify it in your presentation slides. Whatever the amount, I'm not saying you have to put crores of rupees or tens of thousands of dollars, or no, I'm saying just do something that's credible enough that adds to your credibility, and that will help you. Mentors, you all need to understand that mentors sometimes are the detrimental fact between your success and failure. If you have the right mentors, everything can work for you. Now, for you to get the right mentors, it's not about, I know Abdullah, so let me ask him to join my board. And guess what? Abdullah doesn't know anything about health tech. I've never been a doctor in my life. I can't be a doctor if you put a gun to my head, by the way. So there's no point getting me on a health tech. I can't do much if you took me on board of something which I have no relevant experience in. So I want you to choose your mentors based on your function of industry, and not because you know him or her. That's not going to help you. You need to pick up mentors that have experience to add value to you, because they need to add value at a technical and operational level for you. That's the idea why you need mentors. You need mentors to bring in experience, not excitement. You don't need mentors to give you cliches. Oh, come on, Sanket, you can do it. I know you can make it. This idea is all about you. You're going to be the next $1 million idea. You're going to be a billionaire. So, and Sanket goes home thinking, wow, this is a great mentor, man. He just pumped me up. Well, guess what? That's what Salman Khan does. That's what Brad Pitt does. Every time we watch a movie, we come out, we think we're as muscled as them. We think we're as good looking as them, because that's what movies do. They give us an impression, a make-believe impression that lasts only for that time, and then it goes. You don't need mentors like that. You need mentors who can question you. You need mentors who can challenge you. You need mentors who can add value. So this part also, I have found that a lot of startup entrepreneurs don't pay attention to. They pick up mentors just because they're there, or they're related to them, or they're friends. It doesn't work like that. You have to choose mentors with relative experience who can add on a technical and operational level. And once you've finalized that, it doesn't end there. You need to now become professional. You need to ask this mentor, how often can I meet you? Can I meet you every week? Can I meet you once in 2 weeks? Can I meet you every month? And then ask them, okay, if I can meet you once in a month, which day of the week would you prefer and how long? Can I sit with you for 60 minutes? He'll say, no, I think I can do 30 minutes. Great. Try to understand the time you have, because accordingly, when you go to your mentor at that meeting schedule appointment, you can discuss accordingly. So you don't go with a 120-minute content to fit in a 30-minute meeting. Right? So always remember, the reel will only last the film. It will not go after that. There's nothing after that. So your time is 30 minutes. You need to make sure that your reel, your movie stays for 30 minutes. So you begin on your 10 minutes, you let him talk in 15 minutes, and then you conclude. Show your mentors that you are professional. Let them understand. I get a lot of people telling me, come on board and be on my board and be my mentor. And I never get them to tell me what they want from me, or the fact that what is their, they don't even ask whether I am available, by the way. They just believe that I am available. Yes, I could be, and maybe no. You need to basically confirm everything. So you need to schedule your meetings with your mentors, and then you need to discuss with them whether they're willing to be non-executive directors, or they want to be advisors, or they just want to be mentors. And then in return of that, there may be a bargain. You need to offer them sweat equity. They might ask for something else. You don't know. You need to make sure that everything you do is professional. There is nothing called charity. There's nothing called free. Let your mentor respect you. Gain your mentor's respect. Don't be there like someone who's a helpless, headless chicken. Try to be like a rooster. Stand tall and make the loudest sound you can, so everybody gives you attention. So make sure that your mentor is someone who's going to respect you. Now, most people, I put this slide because this is actually very important. Most people are thinking, what can I do? There's a lot you can do. There is a lot you can do. If you were in the travel business, try to think about creating a travel blog or a portal to advise people on where to choose their next holiday whenever COVID-19 settles down. Or you create a virtual reality or an augmented reality platform by which you tell people living in Switzerland, please make videos of the mountainous areas there. People living in Bali in Indonesia, please make videos of your beaches there. People living in San Diego to make videos of the Santa Monica Pier, and then send them to you and tell people, hey, listen, would you like to visit Santa Monica Pier this evening? I can schedule for you a virtual reality tour. Imagine the experience. So as a person working in the travel industry, you could create that. As a person working in the health industry, you could create a health blog, a website offering health services to people. If you were working as a secretary, as an admin assistant, okay, you could offer people admin services. I think the girl who contacted me from United Kingdom, I was very impressed. You know, she got in touch with me and she said, Mr. Abdullah, would you like to have a remote personal assistant, executive assistant services? I can offer that for you. I can organize your calendar. I can prepare for you your slides. I can arrange for you a meeting. And I found that very proactive. And I respected that because she didn't use the whole COVID-19 chaos to create sympathy. She created respect for herself because she positioned herself correctly. So always remember, the way you position is the way I will react with you. If you position yourself weak, I will look at you in a weak position because you have positioned yourself weak. You have said, oh, sir, I'm lost. I don't have money. I don't have a job. Oh, my God, what am I going to do, etc., etc. No, I want you to present yourself in a powerful way. So people who are working in the admin profession as executive assistants or secretary, start thinking about providing remote executive assistant services. Let CEOs and GMs who don't have the budgets to hire secretaries anymore do it. CAs can do it. This chartered accountants can do this. Contact small business owners and tell them, hey, listen, I can help you do your books every month. I can do your audit. I can do your accounts. I can do your payroll, everything remotely. And guess what? You were previously paying X amount of money. Now you can pay just 20% of that. There are a lot of things you can do. There are a lot of things you can do. COVID-19 is an opportunity. It is not a catastrophe. COVID-19 is the reason for you to think. It is not the reason for you to stop thinking. COVID-19 is probably the platform from which you will grow, because up until now you were confused. Why? Because you're always busy with so many things. Guess what? God helped you. God sent you something by which you're sitting at home, you're listening to me for almost an hour, which you wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have had the time to sit in front of you for an hour. And we're here, we're engaging, you're learning, and I'm learning from you. So this is an opportunity. I want you to create positivity in this situation. Don't look at economic outlooks. Don't look at the unemployment ratio. Let it go to the dogs. Let it burn. And don't get carried away with fake and motionless promises, because it's not going to be a pretty picture. Anybody telling you that is a perfect liar. Is a perfect liar. So rather than trying to believe false hope, you know, one of the easiest ways that my colleagues and friends who are here from the real estate business, they know this, that when somebody gets duped in the real estate business, when an agent cheats you, he doesn't cheat you once. He consistently cheats you, which means he will first ask you to pay a down payment, and then he'll tell you that after a year, this apartment building is going to be up, and after a year, there's no apartment building. Now he's trying to tell you that actually there were problems with the approvals, and now we're going to get it. I worked very hard. I talked to this official, and now, sir, you need to pay me the second. Now you're worried about losing your first down payment, so you pay your second payment. And then after that, there's still no building. And now he's telling you, guess what? The building owner has decided to move the building location from A to B, and you're getting a better deal there because this deal is much better. And guess what? You're being tricked and you're being fooled. So my dear friends, my dear Romans, you've been fooled long enough. Now it's time for you to rule. Now it's time for you to take control. Now it's time for you to land this plane. There's going to be an emergency landing. And I'm screaming time and time again, brace for impact, brace for impact, brace for impact. But I don't want you to freeze. I don't want you to shut down. I want you to figure out, how are you going to land this plane? And guess what? You are going to land this plane. And guess what? You are going to land it with no injuries. And guess what? Everybody's going to call you a hero. You need to start thinking like this. Your life is not about challenges. It's about what you do with those challenges. Your story doesn't end with failure. It begins because you failed. I want you to change the way you think, because COVID-19 will lead to something new. So the question is, are you the one who's going to launch that amazing new startup? Why? Because you're ready to accept the problem and you're no longer living in denial. Anybody telling you that, oh, don't worry, the economy is going to come up. Oh, don't worry, the stimulus package is going to do this. You're no longer living in denial. You will reassess everything you did till now. Everything, your investments, your savings, your plans for future, your family, your kids. You will reassess everything. Why? We're going to a new world. You know, it's so strange. It's so ironic. I've done a video in November 2019 where I've said that 2020 will be the year of change. Because I was looking at the stock market, I was looking at economy, and when India hit 4.5, I said, listen, something is wrong. Something is genuinely wrong. Listen, the world is defined by two countries, China and India, whether anybody likes it or not. That's how it is. Why? Because one has 1 billion people, another has 1 billion people. So when these two countries started to steep down, I realized that 2020 is going to be challenging. Of course, there was no COVID-19. COVID-19 is the icing on that cake called a problem. So the problem cake was already there, and COVID-19, boop, right on top. So you need to reassess all your plans, everything that you thought about. You thought about where your kids will study, where you will go on holiday. Reassess all your plans. There's no need to panic. You have what you need to succeed. That's what you need to tell yourself. Because if you don't lead, you will cave in. And the ones who cave in cannot get up. Because there are enough opportunities out there. You just need to look hard. And you just need to focus. So if you start thinking differently, and if you start believing in yourself, I think your chances of succeeding are very high. COVID-19 or no COVID-19. I'll tell you a personal experience. We had gone on a holiday, a family holiday to Turkey, and my kids had jumped into the pool. This was a big slide, and you would slide on and you would fall in a pool that was like, I didn't know how deep it was. And I went in and I asked the kids, how deep is it? And my daughter, she was 13, she said, Dad, till here. I said, okay, that's okay. I can stand up. And I don't know how to swim. So I went on the slide and I felt upside down, and I hit the bottom. And the bottom, when I hit it, I realized that the pool was 2 floors high. And I don't know how to swim. So rather than panicking, I immediately remembered what they do in the movies. I said, oh yeah, you got to do this and you got to move your legs, right? So I was completely telling myself, oh, that's all you need to do and you need to come up. And I think it was my sanity and my casualness about the whole affair that I actually floated. It's a different thing when I floated, I started screaming at my kids and telling them, what the hell, you want to kill me or what? But the thing is, it's all about presence of mind. You need to have presence of mind. You need to be in control. And that's why I always say that if I ever cross the street and if a zoo has by mistake left the door of the cage for the lion open and the lion is out there and the lion comes in front of me, guess who has the problem? Who has the problem? Me or the lion? The lion, of course. If I don't believe that, that lion is going to eat me. COVID-19, unemployment is that lion. Don't let that lion eat you. Don't let that lion eat you. Let that lion believe that you're going to eat him. Don't let the lion know that you're vegetarian. No. Let him believe that you're going to eat him. And that is the only way you can go ahead. Success is about feeling it, and then you experience it. So I wish all of you guys a lot of success, good health, a very safe life. These are difficult times, yes, but they're not that difficult. They can't be more difficult than the people of Syria. They can't be more difficult than the people who are imprisoned in China. They can't be more difficult than anybody who's imprisoned in the world for something unjust. We are imprisoned for our own safety. So let's not take it in any different way. Whether our governments will do the right thing or the wrong thing, that is for the governments to do. What you can do, you have to count on it. You have to count on that. You can do something out of this situation. So I hope this whole session was worth it. And it was very nice speaking to all of you. And I'm pretty pleased to see a full house. Those are my contact details on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I will be taking questions if you just allow me to see what those questions are. Inshallah. Okay. Great. Okay. Anybody who wishes to ask the question, can you type it again? Because there's a lot of stuff typed here. By the time I go through it, might take some time. Yes, I'll try to load the recording later. Yeah. Yes, Feroz, I agree with you that a lot of people are expecting things to go back to normal in 6 months. And from everything that you're looking at, you are not going to see that happen. So don't make believe and convince yourself that in 6 months everything is going to be okay. It's not. How to survive a credit crunch? Obviously, save more and stop unnecessary purchases. Yes, I'm planning to have another session as well. Hygiene business with AI and robots, very interesting. I think that was a very interesting idea to look at in today's situation. Okay. If you have tested your idea, Kirk, Alan, then you need to make sure that your idea is validated by, like I said, 100 strangers. If that is there, then you're ready to go. Sanket, yes, traction is what investors are always looking for. So you need to engage proof of concept customers more for your investors to have that as information. That way they will know that there are customers in the market that are willing to take you. Expansion is not a good idea, Muzammil, at the moment because things are looking steep. So try and keep yourself where you are and consolidate your marketplace. Don't try to expand. Ruby, your mentor or advice is only good once you have prepared most of the homework. So you have to go through the whole process. So when a mentor or an advisor looks at it, they're looking at something complete. You need advice on something that exists, not something that is imagined. Varun, yes, definitely. Validation is required for each scenario. If you did it, it will be worth your while, definitely. You will see that yourself, and there's no other excuse for not validating. If you have a business Muslim that is suddenly losing business and cash, you'll have to relook at what you need to do, or you need to put a stop to your business completely so you can save money and restart your business once things look a bit better. What about mutual fund? Muhammad Aslam asked me. I think mutual funds in the current scenario or the stock market is a good idea as long as you know what you're investing in. Just look at the chart of the stock you want to invest in for the last 6 months. If you see a drop of more than 10 to 15%, especially in the blue chip space, that's a good place to invest. Hamid is asking me about PC gaming industry. Well, that is going to be the biggest industry now that everybody's sitting at home. Feroz asks me what not to do during this uncertain situation. Well, the one thing you don't do is be careless and unfocused. Be very careful and be very focused with what you're doing, because the more you study your situation, the more in control you are. Sanket asked me how to fix the situation. Which situation are you talking about? We have a number of situations at the moment. But yeah, if you tell me, then I'll probably give my 2 pence for it. Bhavna asks, POC is necessary for getting investors. Definitely, it's necessary for you, Bhavna. If you don't have a POC, you are actually at a disadvantage because you're not really sure whether your concept, product, or service really works. Kirk says he has sold 10,000 units in 3 weeks, 4 million worth of inquiries. Listen, you have to manage your business cash flow according to the money available. You can't develop a business plan or take more orders unless you have money in place, because these days getting fresh money is a challenge. So you need to look at debt, you need to look at debt to equity, or you need to look at equity, or you need to look at a term loan, something, one of those. Shahnaz Ali has an interesting project of Kangen water that she's currently working on. And I think if people understand the value that it brings in terms of building immunity, etc., and if it's scientifically proven, then I think it should be good for the current situation. Hamid asked me, do we need data along with market research before startup? Definitely. The amount of research you do will decide how long you will stay in business. Abu Yasser asked me, if I see demand locally, should I just focus on local business? How do I understand if my business could get international? This is not the time to expand your business. Again and again, I'm telling you, don't do something that looks very optimistic. Optimism is not the name of the game these days. It's all about touch and feel. What you have with you is the business that you have. Hold on to it. No, sometimes you don't need funds for traction, Sanket. So it all depends on your discussion with customers. If customers are willing to buy in your story, you might actually get them to fund your traction process. I've seen a lot of the startup ideas where people are willing to say, hey, listen, I'm going to pay for the POC because I like the outcome of it. You have to sell the story correctly. You have to make sure that the story is something that people buy before they buy the actual product. Nazir Ahmed says he's into the education domain with an ERP solution. Definitely, Nazir, I invite you to connect with colleges, universities, and schools, convince them to put their modules online, and you'll get a lot of students. Rayan Kazi asks me, what do you think about artificial intelligence, and is it the way of the future? Well, actually now artificial intelligence is the way of the past, because artificial intelligence has been in the marketplace for now 6 years, and lots of things have developed. In fact, it's now evolving into something else. Artificial intelligence is now a complete different animal than what it was 6 years ago. So it is the way of present, not just the future. The future might bring something else. I believe that 2020 will be a game changer. We might look at a new technology altogether, different to blockchain and artificial intelligence. Okay, Feroz, I can't really answer that about inflation and deflation in the next 6 months for assets like real estate, commodities, because if you look at where oil prices were something at around 60 and now they're somewhere around 20. That can show you the fluctuation that's happening in the market. And commodities are really, really shaken. So today the Indian rupee is very close to the Bangladeshi taka, and that wasn't the case 1 year ago. So things have moved, things have changed. And I can completely tell you that the situation in India actually is not as worse as what it is in other countries. Why? Because India already, you see, there's an old saying that if my son is a bad student, then if he fails in two more, I'm not so disappointed, right? Because he's a bad student. So when India came into 2020, India came with 4.5%. So India already had a weak situation. So going from there to 2.5 or 2 will hurt, but it will not be that magnanimous as it is with America, as it is with Germany, as it is with France. It's a huge thing. So I can't really answer that because that's more a subject matter expert question. How can we apply for loan? You can apply for private loan, not a commercial loan, Kirk. Again, you have to sell your story to investors. If they buy your story, if they think you have a good cash flow, and you, so for example, you said you have enough inquiries and you have sale orders, right? So if they can pass that off, if you can pass that off earning to an investor, and you tell them, okay, if you invest money with me, I will give you equity as well as I will give you some returns, and those returns will be so on and so forth, then maybe those investors will be interested with you. Okay, somebody's in a good mood, so it's nice to know. All right. Ryan, it's not worth studying artificial intelligence. It's worth working on it. It's worth dealing with it, and it's worth doing something with it. All right, he's out. What is the best tool for and practice we have to adapt to marketing? Obviously, social media is a very good tool, but you also need to use your own infrastructure of network, because most people don't know how to use your network. You have to learn how to use your own network to do marketing. If you know how to use your own network, your marketing will be far more precise and accurate. Sakib asks, what is the best ways to network while you're in a lockdown? LinkedIn is a very good place to be. Most people need to be in LinkedIn. If you're not, please be in LinkedIn. Number two, learn the etiquettes of trying to connect in LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a business professional network platform. It's not Facebook. So don't be casual there. Make sure what you put on your LinkedIn profile is well studied and well thought through, because you want people to recognize you as a professional and not as someone who's a casual person. Arif asked me, do you think global business centralization around China will change? Well, actually, the game is open now. The play field is wide open. It all depends on how the Indian government and other governments react to this, because this is an opportunity. This is where the world is thinking very negatively about China. Hence, it is very important for the other players to build infrastructure like China did. China is China because they have infrastructure, they have technology, and they have tools. It's not just because everything is cheap. In fact, there's nothing cheap in China anymore. Everything is actually expensive. It's just that they do everything in a very professional way, and they facilitate everything in a very seamless fashion. That is why they can be ahead of it. So yeah, the play field is open. Whichever country wants to take that market share can actually take it. Abdul Hamid says, I'm in the education industry for school division. We offer virtual learning. Yeah, as long as your school, Abdul Hamid, is something that can go onto virtual schooling, and you can offer modules to students at home and create distance learning as your way of schooling, and you can issue certifications based on that, then yeah, you have a lot of business to do. Fez asks me, what about cloud computing and automation? Yeah, it's still there. Anything that is remote is the need of the hour. I need more people to think around engineering concepts. I need more people to think around business processes. I need more people to imagine, right? Everybody now is thinking about what will happen when people will get back? What if there are certain people that are still infected? What if we get infected by those people? How will we manage ourselves, et cetera, et cetera? So why not come up with ideas that are in that space? Why not come up with something like an audit company that says, I'm going to audit you to make sure that your company only allows in people who are completely vetted, et cetera, et cetera. Where does travel industry stand after COVID-19? Muzaffar asked me. Like I said, create a virtual reality portal where people can travel while they sit at home using augmented reality and virtual reality, and you'll get a lot of customers, because what is the one thing you want to do now when you're sitting at home? You want to be somewhere else, and why not be there in a virtual space? That's a huge opportunity there. Okay, gentlemen, everybody, ladies, thank you very much for today's engagement and interaction. You're free to communicate with me whenever you feel like it. You have my contact details on the slide. I will see, where is it? Yep, I'm going to put it out one more time. Just register it. And yes, thank you for all your nice messages and applause. I really appreciate it. I do this so that people can get more focus in their lives. I do this so that people can get change in their lives. I definitely do this to create winners and more leaders, because this is a world and this is a time where we need more winners and leaders. So I wish all of you the best, and I wish all of you a lot of success and good health, and hopefully we can do more sessions in the near future. I will be inviting a few other friends of mine who are very established professionals in the industry. Someone who sits on the board with me from Mercedes, I'm planning to invite him. I'm also planning to invite somebody who's a management guru in the United Kingdom to also come on, speak to you. So my desire is to give all of you enough content and knowledge so that you develop and you reach somewhere, so that you have less opportunity to fail and more opportunity to succeed. So we can do that. Once that is set up, I will definitely connect with you and let you know that we've done that. And then, yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. So be well, and all the best. Take care, guys. See you.